Hello and welcome to Kindred Rhinos. This is Crazy Cree with Stitchy, the Lerms, and Kim. Today we are joined by special guest Ernie, who is our Rhino of the Week. What is Rhino of the Week, you ask? It's a reference back to classes that had Stars of the Week. With Rhino of the Week, we will feature awesome rhinos doing awesome things.
I will pass it on to my husband, who has known Ernie much longer than I have.
That is true. I have known Ernie since elementary school. I think
third grade.
Yeah, the Windsor Park days. Ever since I've known Ernie, we've been participants in like math tournaments, and we've become really good friends because of that. We're both just interested in like gaming and like music and all these different things. The reason why we wanted to bring Ernie on is because we think he has an awesome musical talent. He creates YouTube videos, and the process that he does to make covers of different songs from like video games and all these different musical videos, like it's a cool process. And I think Ernie can talk a little bit more about that and what his inspiration is and all that. So without further ado, I want to introduce formally, this is Ernie. He's our friend. He's a musical genius, and he runs our gaming thing, the Ernie Games.
The Ernie Games.
Yeah, I can finally say that. The Ernie Games. This is the Ernie. We wanted to learn a little more about some of your your musical talent, right? So I think we've got a couple of questions to start off with.
Well, I was hoping that you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, and why you started your YouTube channel, and then we can go from there.
Well, as you know, I grew up with Mikey, and we reconnected, and we started the game nights. And so we've been having all these game nights weekly. It's been a lot of fun. And so in middle school, I started playing percussion, and I started off with the bells, the xylophone, that sort of stuff. And then I ended up switching to trumpet in 8th grade, so I could have an instrument that I could march to. And I also liked how the trumpet sounds. And so I kind of in high school I switched over to the trumpet, and that was pretty much my only instrument. Eventually I became first chair in like my senior year. But I also did a solo and ensemble. I went back and played the marimba. I played a solo on marimba. So I like
That's
both.
awesome.
So I started a YouTube channel because first I initially was using it to upload like Rock Band songs. I was really big into Rock Band 3, and mostly that was because it had like real instruments, so you could actually play the keyboard and you're actually playing the notes along to the music.
Wow, I did not know
Really?
that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you can actually buy this adapter, Rock Band 3 adapter, and you can plug it into your actual keyboard if it has MIDI output. And so you can play on your keyboard along to the song. And you can turn on the volume on your keyboard and listen along. It'll be the same pitches and everything. And so
That's amazing.
I was really big into that during like my college years.
Yeah.
And I started uploading just play along videos, me playing along the songs, not doing perfects or anything, but just playing along. I also uploaded like harmony videos. Me and my friends would do like trios.
That's awesome.
I like doing that. So, I guess this year was when I actually started recording my own recordings and not Rock Band. And at the beginning of this year, I had, how you have those New Year's resolutions and everything.
Yeah.
I had a plan to do one recording per month, and I set the goal. And I actually have several goals that I have a spreadsheet for, and I try to do one thing per month. And this helps me to stay focused and keeps me, I still procrastinate, but I still have I have this goal where it's the last week of the month. I gotta do it now. I have a deadline. So when you have a deadline and you have the pressure, it helps motivate you. When
Yeah.
I mean, these are all things that I want to do. These are
Mhm.
all like personal hobbies, but having this deadline helps to motivate me to actually accomplish these things. And I feel like a month is long enough between goals that I can still like do my own things during the rest of the month and then accomplish things when it's the deadline.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think people have different personalities, right? So people like to get things done immediately so they can rest the rest of the month. But then if you're motivated by a little bit of that, like the deadline's tomorrow, then that can help you. So does that mean that you have, what is this, November? Do you have 11 uploads to YouTube for these videos that you've made, or what are you recording
No,
exactly?
sometimes I do medleys. So I'm sure you've seen the Advanced Wars medley I did had maybe 4 songs in it. And so I split them up into months. If if it's a good size song, like a minute longer at least, then
Mhm.
I can count that as my monthly recording. And so I record all the instruments for that song, and then eventually I'll have all of the recordings and I'll splice them together and have a medley.
That's
So I haven't
awesome.
been releasing a video per month, but I've been recording a song per month.
Very cool. I think that's what Mikey was kind of alluding to, right? Like you have an interesting way of recording things and then putting them all together.
The music you upload onto YouTube, is there like a certain genre or theme that you tend to steer towards?
Well, so far all my music has been from video games, and it's video games that I played when I was growing up. So I want to say when I was like in elementary school, even so it's like a big nostalgia factor to it. These are tunes that I have been humming for years, and I wanted to do them first. So get these out of the way that I really want to do, and then I'll start doing ones that are maybe requests or ones that are just down my list. I don't know if there's a specific genre besides being video games. I do like the more orchestral sounding music rather than the electronic sounding ones. Just because I do use acoustic instruments for all my parts. I don't have any um, drum loops or anything like that going on. I actually play all the parts myself. If I don't have the instrument, I'll play it on the keyboard because it has the sounds.
Oh, my favorite instrument that you used was a pot. Can you tell me more about that?
So when I pick out my songs and I see a bell and I'm thinking, I don't have a bell. What do I play? So I look around my house to see what has a bell sound, and I find a pot and that has a nice ring to it. So you have to have that timbre, and then when when you play a bell sound, it dampens really quickly. It's like bung. So you have to have a specific sound to do that. I created the sound myself. I actually, for my birthday, I got a cowbell. So in the future, if I have to play a bell song, then I can play the
More
cowbell
cowbell.
and change the pitch.
Nice. That's really cool. Oh my gosh. So you're kind of a collector of musical instruments then. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that?
So now that I tell people that, now that people know that I record music, then I can tell them I like collect instruments, so they can give me a little things for my birthday. Like I got a cowbell and a tambourine and stuff like that. So um, I collect mostly the accessible stuff right now. I have 2 recorders and that tin whistle that they sent me. Kind of small things. I also bought a trombone fairly recently that was uh, not too expensive, and I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm still learning it. Um, my main instrument, of course, is the trumpet. I have a cornet, which is like a shorter trumpet, um, and I have a keyboard. And I recently bought a drum set as well. The drum set's good. It's electronic because you can change the instrument. So I can also use as a timpani and any other sort of percussion sound that I'm missing. just play it.
That's really cool.
Do you make your own music? Do you just get it from different sites online for the music you're looking for and the instruments you're looking for, or how do you basically compile prepping what you're going to play?
Okay, right now I use MIDIs. So the most of the songs I play are songs that have been created with the MIDI already, and the MIDI has all the sheet music packed into it. And then you just have to open it in something like MuseScore and see all the parts separately. Ideally, sometimes MIDIs are like condensed into one channel, and you can't really work off of that. But if the parts are separated, even if they're not the instruments I have, like maybe it's an electronic instrument or something, I can open up a new score with all my instruments and then copy the notes over to my instrument and adjust the range so I can play it. And then
just transpose it.
Right.
That sounds complicated to me, but
It's probably the easiest way of doing what I do.
and that's why I don't have the talent like him.
She does it the hard way, where she does every single note from ear.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like your way is like creative and the smart and efficient way to do it. I just make everything way too hard.
Sometimes there's sheet music for different songs. I think it's the MuseScore's actual website. They have people upload scores that they made on there, and you can download it as sheet music, or you can download it as a MIDI, and then arrange it yourself if you have different instruments.
You also mentioned, that you're still learning trombone. Do you just do it by ear and kind of teach yourself, or do you like go to YouTube, or like what do you do learning different instruments?
At first I went to YouTube and I learned maybe the basics, how to hold it, how to make a sound, where to position everything. And then after that I basically just figured out on my own. Like pretend you had a recorder, you just basically learn the fingerings, and after that you just figure it out as you go. You don't really watch a bunch of videos on how to play recorder.
You have to have some talent for that, though. I mean, because I think that if I was learning the recorder, I would watch YouTube videos on how to play Mary Had a Little Lamb and all the little songs. So have you always been just musical? Is that something you can do, is you can just pick up any instrument and play it?
It's more like I know how to read sheet music, and so you can see the fingering and match it to a pitch, and then you just learn each pitch as you go.
I'm sure it also helps that the songs that you play are songs that you like and you know how they sound, right? So right. Like you were saying, songs that you've been humming for the last 20 years or something, right? Because I know some of the songs, like you have an Earthbound one, you have some games that have been around for a pretty long time. Whereas I wouldn't say they're as popular as a Super Mario Brothers or something. It's still the kind of thing that has a fandom and you know the songs by heart kind of thing.
And the one I'm recording currently is Donkey Kong Country 2, and the 25th anniversary is actually tomorrow.
Very cool. Of all the things that you've recorded, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite song that you've wanted to do, but it's just you're not there yet? Tell us more about what's in the future for you.
Probably my favorite song that I've done is Smiles and Tears from Earthbound, the one you were mentioning earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually recorded that many years ago, but I didn't have all the instruments that I had now. So I re-recorded it. I think it turned out pretty well. I love that song. So I really liked the Advanced Wars medley that I did. I grew up tape recording those songs and just listening to them on a cassette tape, because it was back in the days before you could just go download the songs.
Yeah, exactly. And you probably back in the day, you wouldn't have even necessarily know what the song was called or how to find it, right?
Yeah, knew the level name.
Yeah.
But So Advance Wars had hit its anniversary back when I released that. So I decided to go ahead and do those, and I made it into a Blue Moon theme. Blue Moon's a faction in the game. I actually like every single one of those. Colin, Grit, Sasha, and Olaf. And I was surprised how well Grit's theme turned out because of it's a very country sounding song, not really my genre. But I played those guitars and so my fingers were hurting.
Do you have any advice for someone who wants to do something like this?
I would recommend having a goal, even if it's something that you're just doing casually, like just having that goal there and forcing yourself to do something. But first, you gotta motivate yourself to actually get stuff done, and then after you start doing it in a monthly basis, you start getting better. You start figuring out how to be more efficient, less experimentation, so you have more time to get more done.
I think that's good advice. I think always the hardest part is to start, right? Like,
Right.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I was just gonna say, I think with the pandemic, I think all of us have had a little more free time to just start activities. So,
Exactly.
I think we encourage, anybody that's watching right now, like if you have a passion, just start it.
So if someone was starting out and didn't have like your collection of instruments, what are maybe some of like the top 3 things you would recommend that they would have to like get started on making like music compilations?
I think, of course, the most versatile ones would be the best. So, like a keyboard, you can use the keyboard to pretty much make a whole suite of songs or sounds, and so that would be my number one. Of course, number 2, I would suggest like a drum set. Electric drum sets. I guess they're a bit pricey for something casual, so maybe stick with just a keyboard and drum loops if you're not ready to invest into a drum set. A bass guitar, of course, you can try that too. You have to have a bass sound to have for most of your songs. You're gonna want to have a bass song and then like the higher one to play the melodies. A bass guitar is pretty easy to play, I think, compared to like acoustic guitar. So that's a pretty good list. If you had a bass guitar, a keyboard, and a drum set, you could make music.
I know you have a collection of instruments right now, right? You have a violin, you have a trombone, you have a tin whistle, you have a pot, like all these great instruments.
You have a pot.
I mean, I might have a
I
pot
have a
in my house.
collection, actually.
Yeah, I know. There you
No,
go.
I didn't know. I
The
didn't know I
stainless
had so
steel
many
collection,
instruments.
right? Yeah. I guess in the future, like, what are some of the other instruments that you want to add on to your collection? For the songs that you've been thinking about.
One I've been looking for is a bass recorder. So at a recorder, this is a alto recorder.
It looks a lot nicer than the one I used in elementary school.
Right. So the one you used in elementary was probably a soprano. It's a little bit shorter.
Yes, it was short.
And it was one color.
Yes, it was red.
This is a slightly bigger. There's also a tenor, which is it's slightly bigger, and then there's the bass recorder, which actually has a curved neck, and it's a lot heftier. It's not that much lower. That's the sound that they have in the opening to The Mandalorian. He played a bass recorder. But,
Yeah.
that's a bass recorder.
Wow.
Like I was saying, I like to have that bass sound. I have the bass guitar and the trombone now, and I want a bass recorder for the woodwind sound. Of course, it's not a woodwind, but unless you want to invest in like a bass clarinet, which would be an actual woodwind, but I think a bass recorder a lot cheaper and a lot easier to play. Other instruments, of course, I would love to have a marimba, but unless one of you wants to buy me one, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
If I win the lottery tomorrow, I'll buy you a marimba. That's fine.
Yeah, how do you store that thing? That has to become a piece of furniture.
Buy one of those covers, it converts it to a table.
Ernie has no real furniture. It's all instruments. Interesting. How much does the marimba cost? $500? $1,000? I don't even.
Several thousand.
Wow.
I remember looking for a timpani, and they don't even sell those. Several of the songs I wanted to play had timpani, and so I was trying to find like maybe like a a mini timpani, but they don't make those either.
Will you play us a song?
I have a short song with the instrument that I was gifted.
Love it.
Nice.
Yay!
That was great.
That was
That's
awesome.
awesome.
How can we find you on YouTube?
My username is ErnieE00.
We'll put up a link in the podcast so that everyone can access it and see all your covers and stuff. I think they're really cool. I think we're all impressed by them. So that's why we brought you on here to be Rhino of the Week. Thank you for coming on here and telling us about your talent and showcasing it a little bit. We're really excited, and we always want to hear like new instruments from you, and we're always excited when you get a new one because we're like, oh, we get to hear more stuff. So thank you for coming on. So I think Cree, for podcasts in the future, how can other people kind of get involved in being on here to
Definitely.
showcase?
If you or anyone you know is interested in being showcased as Rhino of the Week, please reach out to us at our email kindredrhinos@gmail.com, or feel free to reach out to us on our various social media accounts. We thank you for tuning in to this episode of Kindred Rhinos. If you enjoyed our broadcast, please be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Our main outlet is YouTube, so any direct subscribes there would be greatly appreciated. Once again, this is Crazy Cree, and on behalf of myself and my fellow rhinos, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
So why is it so